Now it's finally, my friend! The Philadelphia Eagles' patience has reached its limit, and now Howie Roseman is about to act. After 2 straight losses and a flurry of injuries, something big is about to happen behind the scenes. A trade is being prepared, and the most obvious option was right in front of everyone's eyes the whole time. But wait, it's not just that. The defensive line is collapsing, the pass rush has lost its terror, and the sudden departure of Zadarius Smith has left a huge hole in Vic Fangio's system. Insiders are already talking about 3 names that could land in Philadelphia at any moment, and one of them could completely change the fate of this defense. So before I reveal the behind-the-scenes details, the targets, and the bold move Roseman is planning, like and subscribe to the channel, because what I'm about to tell you now could redefine the Eagles' rumor mill this season. The tension in Philadelphia is growing by the minute. After 2 consecutive losses, the reigning Super Bowl champions are suddenly facing more questions than answers, and all eyes are on general manager Howie Roseman. The trade deadline is approaching, and the Eagles are desperate for help, especially in their secondary, which has gone from reliable to vulnerable in a matter of weeks. The pass rush has cooled, the coverage has slipped, and opposing wide receivers are having too much fun against this defense. But what if the solution has been hidden in plain sight, or all along? A move that could change everything may be just a phone call away. The Eagles' next obvious trade target may already be in the NFC, athletic yet enigmatic Seattle cornerback Riq Woolen. The former UTSA receiver turned Pro Bowl defensive end has already been hailed as one of the NFL's most promising young cornerbacks. His combination of height, speed, and sheer athleticism became a nightmare for quarterbacks during his rookie season when he recorded 6 interceptions and forced 3 fumbles. But since then, inconsistency and bias have crept into his game. Seattle's coaching staff has rotated him between starters, and his once high confidence has clearly taken a hit. Now, in the final year of his Heat contract, Woolen's future in Seattle is certain, and that's where Philadelphia could step in. Physically, Woolen is everything the Eagles need right now. At 6 feet 4 inches, with elite traction and long, powerful arms, he has the tools to eliminate some of the deep passing nightmares that have plagued their defense lately. Quinion Mitchell has been battling a hamstring issue. Adoree Jackson and Kaylee Ringo have struggled to stay solid, and Jacorian Bennett's injury has only made matters worse. The Eagles' once dominant second team has become a revolving door, and Fangio's system is suffering because of it. A trade for Woolen could be just the thing to reset the tone for the second half of the season. The question is, would Roseman pull the trigger? There's always a risk in mid-season trades, especially for players who need confidence and training as much as they need a fresh start. But under Vic Fangio's guidance, Woolen could rediscover the aggressive, playmaking version of himself that electrified fans in 2022. Imagine a trio of Mitchell, DeJean, and Woolen, young, fast, physical, and dangerous. It's the kind of secondary that could once again make quarterbacks hesitate before throwing deep against the Eagles. Still, no trade is without risk. Woolen's mental lapses and decision-making issues can't be ignored, and adjusting to a complex defensive system mid-season isn't easy, but the potential reward is enormous. The Eagles need an outside cornerback who can match up with top-tier receivers and hold his own one-on-one, something this season has been sorely lacking in recent weeks. And there's one GM in the NFL willing to gamble on that potential: Howie Roseman. With the trade deadline fast approaching, this move makes too much sense to ignore. The Eagles need speed, they need creative playmaking, and they need defensive swagger. Lowe can bring all 3. It's a high-reward, medium-risk gamble that could rekindle Philadelphia's defensive identity before it's too late. While a move for Riq Woolen only gave the Eagles' secondary a much-needed boost, the truth is that Philadelphia's problems run deeper, right at the heart of the defensive line. For years, that defensive line has been the Eagles' identity. Relentless, physical, and impossible to intimidate. But now, it's falling apart. The Week 6 loss to the Giants wasn't just a stumble, it was a wake-up call. Rookie quarterback Jackson Dart and running back Cam Scatabo tore through the Eagles' defense like it was a preseason football game. The reason? The trenches simply collapsed. With Jalen Carter out with a heel injury and the shocking mid-season retirement of Zadarius Smith, the defensive line suddenly looks nothing like the dominant unit that led them to the Super Bowl. For a franchise built to win the front court battle, this is frightening. With a 4-2 record, the Eagles still sit atop the NFC East, but confidence in the locker room seems shaken. Every opponent now believes they can attack this defense straight up the the middle. And until Carter returns, that's not entirely wrong. Nick Sirianni knows this too. During a press conference on Monday, he made no secret of his concern, but also hinted at a possible internal solution. The team is exploring creative ways to cover Smith's absence, and an intriguing name keeps cropping up. Rookie linebacker Jihad Campbell. Selected 31st overall out of Alabama, Campbell has already impressed with his athleticism, energy, and detail. In just a few games, he recorded 22 solo tackles, forced a fumble, and intercepted a pass. Numbers that not only show potential, but also scream impact. What makes Campbell special is his explosiveness on the edge. His first step is lightning quick, and his ability to weave through blocks gives him a natural pass-rushing threat that could fit perfectly in Vic Fangio's system. He's still learning, of course, but with Smith gone, opportunity is knocking. Sirianni hinted that Campbell could see time as an edge rusher, depending on how upcoming practices pan out. And let's not forget Nakobe Dean, the defensive leader who just came off the undrafted list. If Dean is healthy enough to play this week, his return could help free up more flexibility for Fangio's defense. Dean's presence allows Campbell to move, play with more freedom, and focus on chasing the quarterback instead of covering the entire field. It's a potential domino effect that could bring back that aggressive edge the Eagles have lost. Still, the stakes are high. With the trade deadline approaching on November 4th, Howie Roseman can't afford to wait and hope that internal fixes work magically. The Eagles have depth. Players like Moro Ojomo, Azeez Ojulari, and Byron Young are in contention, but none have the top-notch veteran presence that Smith brought. This void can't be filled with energy or youth alone. It needs production. The coaching staff believes in Campbell's potential, but there's a fine line between judgment and risk when you're trying to defend a championship. And as if the situation weren't already worrying enough, a bombshell broke behind the scenes and left the locker room reeling, forcing the Eagles to act quickly in the trade market. The shockwaves of Zadarius Smith's sudden retirement are still reverberating through the NovaCare complex. Just a few weeks ago, the edge rusher was expected to be a key pillar in Vic Fangio's defensive scheme, a proven force to balance the youth and energy of the Eagles' front seven. Then, seemingly out of nowhere, he announced he was out. No drama, no build-up, simply out. For a half that already looked daunting against the Giants in that brutal 34-17 loss, this was the last thing anyone personally cared about. The locker room felt the immediate impact. Smith's leadership, his presence on the edge, his ability to command double teams, all of it isolated overnight. Now, with the trade deadline fast approaching, Howie Roseman faced one of his biggest midseason challenges thus far. How to replace a player like Smith and keep the Super Bowl window open? The answer, as always with Roseman, can be traced back to creativity and courage. There are three realistic paths he could take, each with its own risk, price, and potential reward. Option, DeMarcus Walker. He's available and waiting for a long-term connection. At 31, Walker may not be the flashiest name on the market, but he's exactly the type of player who could fill the void immediately. He's played under Fangio in Denver, understands his system, and can fit in quickly without needing weeks to learn the playbook. Walker brings strength, discipline, and veteran experience, qualities the Eagles are sorely lacking at wing. He's the kind of player who won't make headlines, but his presence could quietly stabilize a defensive line that has been under pressure too often in recent games. If Roseman wants a short-term solution that won't break the bank, Walker could be a steadying hand. Option 2, Arden Key. This is where things get interesting. Reports suggest the Tennessee Titans have been fielding trade offers for the 29-year-old pass rusher, and Philadelphia is likely to be one of those offers. Key isn't a direct replacement for Smith. He's lighter, more of a speed specialist, but he brings something this defense desperately needs: explosiveness. Key thrives in pure pass rush situations. He doesn't need to be an every-down player to make an impact. He just needs to put his ears down and go for it. Fangio could strategically place him on third downs, where his explosiveness at the line can panic quarterbacks. If Roseman is looking for a mid-level trade that brings immediate production, Key ticks a lot of boxes. And then there's one option that's been ruled out: Trey Hendrickson. This is the move that would shake up the NFL. Hendrickson has been publicly frustrated with his situation in Cincinnati, and with his contract expiring, the Bengals may be open to trading him for the right price. The 30-year-old edge rusher has averaged double-digit sacks for 3 consecutive seasons and would immediately restore the intimidation factor this defense has lost. With Howie Roseman exploring bold trades, young talent like Jihad Campbell standing out, and a potential move for Riq Woolen, are the Eagles poised to rise again and rebuild a championship-caliber defense that can lead them back to another Super Bowl run? Like and subscribe to the channel. I'll be back later to update you with the latest Eagles news.